I walked into what was supposed to be a quiet family dinner and found 81 people screaming, "Welcome baby," under a banner that wasn't even for me. My parents took my entire $12,800.00 bonus without telling me and used it to throw a surprise baby shower for my sister. No permission, no apology, just full-blown betrayal, served with cake. I'm Sarah, and that night made one thing clear. Family doesn't always mean respect, and I wasn't going to stay silent. Hey, I'm Sarah, 32, just a regular woman who worked her butt off to become a senior financial analyst at Morrison Investment Group. Picture 60-hour weeks, no weekends, and a tiny apartment that was my safe space. I'm not gonna lie, me job was my life. After 6 years of grinding, I finally got a promotion and a fat $12,800.00 bonus. That money was my ticket to a down payment on a condo. My first shot at something real, something mine. Growing up though, money was never stable in my house. My parents, Linda and James, treated cash like it magically appeared and vanished. By 12, I was their mini accountant, balancing their checkbook while they dodged bill collectors. They'd laugh, call me cute, but the stress? It stuck with me. While other kids saved for sneakers or concerts, I hid my babysitting cash in a lockbox under my bed. Not for fun stuff, because I knew Mom would borrow it for the electric bill or Dad would need gas money. Family helps family, they'd say. But it was always me helping them, never the other way around. If you're watching, drop a comment with where you're from and hit subscribe to follow my wild ride of standing up for myself. My family's always seen me as their personal ATM. At 15, I saved $300.00 for a school trip, only to find my lockbox empty the night before the deadline. Mom used it for a family emergency, aka a down payment on a fancy couch they couldn't afford. They promised to pay me back, but, spoiler, they never did. That mantra, family helps family, was their excuse every time they took my money. College was my escape. I worked 3 jobs, ignored their offers to manage my scholarship cash, and graduated with a finance degree and barely any debt. My entry-level gig at Morrison wasn't glamorous, but it was mine. I poured everything into my career, taking on tough projects, working holidays, and climbing the ladder. My tiny apartment, 20 miles from my parents' place, was my sanctuary. Then came the promotion. I'd saved a major client millions by catching a tax error nobody else saw. My boss, Rebecca Johnson, slid the bonus paperwork across her desk and said, "You've earned every penny, Sarah. That $12,800.00 was more than money. It was freedom, stability, a future." But when my family heard about it, things got messy fast. Word of my promotion spread like wildfire. Suddenly, people who hadn't spoken to me in years remembered I existed. My phone lit up with congratulations texts from cousins I didn't even like, and a Facebook message from my old neighbor who once stole my bike. But the real kicker came when Chloe called. My sister Chloe, who hadn't checked in for months. Not even when I was sick with the flu last winter. "Mom says you're loaded now," she laughed, all chirpy. "Perfect timing, we're expecting." She sounded so thrilled, and I really was happy for her. She'd always dreamed of being a mom, but no one asked what my bonus actually meant for me. No one asked what I wanted. I had just started making progress with Dr. Rachel Carter, my therapist, on drawing boundaries with my family. Hard boundaries. Saying no without guilt. Not showing up with bags of groceries every time Mom casually mentioned her fridge was a little empty. I stopped offering money when Dad mumbled about overdue bills. It was tough, especially when Mom started weaponizing it. "Chloe would never turn her back on family," she'd say with a sigh. "Not everyone gets blessed with a big salary, you know. Some of us care about staying connected." I knew exactly what she meant, but I kept standing firm. So when Mom called inviting me to a small dinner to celebrate my promotion, I actually felt a flicker of hope. "Just you, Dad, Chloe, Michael, maybe Aunt Susan," she said. "Nothing big, just a simple night to say we're proud of you." And I wanted to believe her. So badly. I bought a nice bottle of champagne, picked up a cute little onesie as a surprise gift for Chloe, and even splurged on a dress that made me feel powerful, confident, like I was finally stepping into the life I'd worked so hard for. Driving to their house that Saturday, I actually smiled. I let myself believe that maybe they were turning a page too, that maybe this night would be a turning point. But the moment I turned onto their street, that feeling evaporated. Cars lined both sides of the road like it was a wedding. I parked a block away, double-checked Mom's text. Saturday, 6:30 p.m., our place. I wasn't wrong, but something definitely was. As I got closer, I heard music. Loud music. Laughter, people. A lot of people. The driveway was packed, the garage was open, and inside it were stacks of wrapped presents, all with baby-themed design spink, and blue ribbons, teddy bears, balloons. My heart sank. This wasn't a small dinner. Not even close. Mom met me at the door like she was hosting a gala. She had a wine glass in hand and a wide grin that didn't reach her eyes. "Sarah, finally! Everyone's waiting." She pulled me into a hug, a rare move since I started therapy, and told her I needed space. "Everyone?" I asked cautiously. "I thought this was just family." "Don't be a buzzkill," she chirped, dragging me inside like everything was normal. She flung open the patio doors and my breath caught. The backyard had been transformed. White folding chairs, arranged in rows, yellow linen tablecloths, fresh flower arrangements everywhere. A massive glittery banner hung across the fence. "Welcome, baby Sarah." I stood frozen. 81 guests at a baby shower. That I didn't know about. For a baby named after me. Chloe waddled over, beaming. "Sarah, you made it! Isn't this crazy? Mom and Dad really went all out." I tried to smile to not ruin her moment, but I was already doing mental math. The flowers alone had to be over 1,000. Then I noticed the catering station Giovanni's. Their cheapest plate is $40.00. There was a live musician, a professional photographer, custom napkins. This wasn't just a shower, this was a production. And then people started thanking me. An older aunt leaned in and whispered, "Such a sweet thing to do, dear. Your mom said you insisted on paying for all of this. So generous." My head spun. What? I hadn't paid for anything. At least, I didn't think I had. I pulled Mom aside, my voice shaking. "What are you telling people?" "Relax," she waved her hand. "I told them you wanted to do something special for Chloe. Don't ruin the mood." "I didn't even know about this," I hissed. She shrugged. "You would've, if you called more often." Then came the bomb. "We used your old joint account for the deposits. The vendors needed cash up front." "What joint account?" I asked. "The one from college. You never closed it. We're still authorized users. James handled it. 15 payments total." I felt the blood drain from my face. She said it so casually, like stealing my entire bonus was just another errand. "We spent your money on family joy," she said. "Better than some boring investment or whatever you were planning." I couldn't speak. $12,800.00 gone, just like that. "You took my money," I said, quiet but shaking. "Borrowed," she corrected. But we both knew that was a lie. Family helps family. Chloe deserves this. I stood there in shock while around me people clinked glasses and laughed and posed for photos. Every direction I turned there was another reminder of what they did with my money. The fancy cake from Bellini's, the silver photo frames handed out as party favors, the bartender making signature mocktails. My brother-in-law Michael gave me a look, almost guilty but ducked away when I walked toward him. Dad found me eventually, slurring his words, reeking of cigars he'd never afford on his own. "There's my girl, star of the family, always knew you'd come through." I stared at him. "For a party I didn't agree to?" He waved me off. "Your mom's idea. I picked the menu, top shelf only. Chloe deserves the best." Later, Aunt Margaret Tipsy put a hand on my shoulder. "You're so practical. No husband, no kids. Makes sense you help the ones who are building families." Her words hit like acid, like I was less of a person because I was single, like my only value was as an ATM. I wanted to scream. I wanted to run, but something in me held still. I needed to see the full picture. To feel it, to remember why I had to cut them off. Then Mom clinked a glass. "Everyone, I want to thank someone special. My daughter Sarah. She's always been a bit of a lone wolf, career this, apartment that. But when she heard about baby Sarah, she stepped up." The crowd applauded. Chloe cried. I felt nothing, just empty. I wrote down every gift on Chloe's registry, sitting beside her while she smiled and glowed and had no idea I was dying inside. Every moment chipped away at me, every comment, every plan for my money, a vacation Dad had promised cousins, a donation to his golf club, a nursery renovation that Mom announced with flair, designer furniture, courtesy of Auntie Sarah. Michael found me again. "I thought you were okay with it," he whispered. "Linda said you offered." I shook my head. "They stole from me." He looked sick. When Mom pulled me aside later, I finally broke. "You had no right," I said. "That was my future." She rolled her eyes. "Oh, don't be dramatic. It's just a bonus. You'll get another. Besides, who supported you before your fancy job?" "You didn't," I said. "You never did." And with that, I left, purse in hand, no goodbye. Just a hollow goodbye party I never asked for, paid with money I didn't offer, for a child named after me's? If that made it okay. In my car, I cried. Not for the money, but because I finally saw the truth. I wasn't a daughter to them. I was a resource. And it was never going to stop unless I stopped it myself. At home, my apartment became mission control. I opened my laptop and listed every financial tie to my family. The college joint account I'd stupidly left open, an emergency credit card Mom was on, auto transfers for Chloe's wedding I'd forgotten to cancel. My bank statements showed 15 charges totaling $12,800. 0 cents catering, flowers, music, all planned the day after my promotion was announced. They'd schemed from the start. My phone buzzed with texts, Mom accusing me of embarrassing them by leaving, Dad demanding I call, Chloe worried I was sick. I silenced them and made a plan. This wasn't about anger. It was about survival. Before bed, I emailed my bank, credit card companies, and financial advisor, attaching proof of the unauthorized charges. I woke at dawn, ready. First, I changed every password and froze the joint account, which had $7,216.00 left. I screenshot every transaction, building a fraud case. At 6:30, I called my bank's fraud line. Jessica, the rep, listened as I explained. These weren't authorized. I didn't approve them. Since they were authorized users, it's tricky, she said, but we'll investigate. I disputed all 15 charges, and she credited $12,800.00 to a new secure account while the case ran. By 8 o'clock, I'd frozen the old account, opened a new one, removed my parents from everything, canceled my cards, and set up tight security. The money was back under my control. Then I found a game changer. 3 years ago, I'd helped my parents refinance their house, and my name was on the deed as co-owner. I called Laura Bennett, a lawyer friend. "You've got equal rights to the house," she said. "You could file for partition to force a sale." "I don't want to sell," I said. "I need leverage to stop this." She prepped the paperwork, a threat to get their attention. My phone exploded as the account freeze hit. "Mom, what's wrong with the account? Call me. Dad, fix this now. Vendors need payment. Stop this childish crap." "Chloe, Mom's crying. What's going on?" I ignored them, updated my HR for direct deposits, and locked down my finances. By noon, the $12,800.00 was in a savings account for my condo. Then the family mob came, aunts, uncles, even Dad's golf buddies, all pressuring me to fix it. Aunt Margaret's voicemail, "Your mom's a mess. Family comes first." Uncle Robert, "Vendors are calling about bounced checks. Don't shame us. I saved every message." Laura's partition papers arrived. I signed them, ready to file if needed. Chloe called, sobbing. "Mom says you reversed the shower payments. We might lose the nursery plans. What happened?" I took a breath. They took my entire bonus, $12,800.00, without asking. I knew nothing about the shower. "They said you offered," she gasped. "I'm so sorry." "I know you didn't know," I said. "This isn't about you or the baby. It's about boundaries." I booked an emergency session with Dr. Rachel Carter to prep for the fallout. That night, the partition notice was filed. My parents would get it by morning. A legal bomb to force a real talk. Mom texted, "Tomorrow, 3 o'clock, Riverside Coffee, just us." I replied, "Confirmed." The next day, I had 17 voicemails, 38 texts, 12 emails, all demanding I back down. "Mom, the caterer's suing. This is humiliating." "Dad, I'm the head of this family. Fix this." "Chloe, they say you're selling their house. Please say it's not true." I told her, "It's leverage, not eviction. I'm done with them taking my money." Dr. Rachel Carter prepped me. "Don't justify or argue. State the violations and your terms." At Riverside Coffee, I arrived early, picking a table with an exit. My parents walked in, Mom teary, Dad stone-faced. "How could you do this to us?" Mom started. I pointed to the seats. "Let's talk calmly." Dad unloaded. "Vendors calling, accounts frozen, now this house nonsense. After all we've done for you." I slid a folder over. "This shows 15 unauthorized charges for the shower, $12,800, 0 cents, my bonus. We had access, Mom said weakly, for college emergencies, not to steal my bonus. Steal? Dad's face went red. We're your parents. Taking money without permission is theft, I said, showing the transaction list. Mom cried. We wanted to make Chloe happy. For your niece named after you. This isn't about Chloe. It's about you taking my money and promising more, like the nursery, a vacation, a golf donation. How many lies did you tell? They looked guilty. Now the house. I said, I'm a co-owner. I filed for partition. You'd make us homeless, Mom shrieked. No, I'll withdraw it if we agree today. Dad leaned in. What agreement? I laid it out. 1, admit taking my money was wrong. 2, repay the $12,800 0 cents over time. 3, sign a boundary agreement. 4, family therapy. Repay? Mom gasped. We're on fixed incomes. You found the money to take, I said. Small payments work, Dad scoffed. After all our sacrifices? I slid over another paper. This lists every time you took my money since I was 7 piggy banks. Loans, gifts, all unpaid. I'm only asking for the bonus back. For 2 hours they denied, raged, bargained, then caved. We signed an agreement, 3-year repayment, clear boundaries, 6 therapy sessions, and I'd withdraw the partition after their first payment. Mom tried one last guilt trip. I hope you'll get what family means when you have kids. I'm supporting family, I said, by setting boundaries that protect us all. They left, looking shaken but thoughtful. The weeks after the confrontation were messy in ways I didn't fully expect. Mom bounced between total silence and sending long emotional texts about how hurt she felt. Dad kept things short and cold, just a few clipped messages like, you went too far, or we didn't raise you to be like this. Some relatives took sides. Aunt Susan said I was being dramatic and selfish. But surprisingly, a few cousins reached out quietly, asking how I managed to pull it off, how I kept the boundary from collapsing. Chloe did something I didn't see coming. She invited me to lunch, just the 2 of us. And she apologized. She looked me in the eyes and said, I see it now. They always leaned on you. I benefited and I never even stopped to question it. That cracked something open between us. It didn't fix everything, but it was the start of a new kind of relationship. One built on honesty instead of expectations. Therapy wasn't magic, but it helped. Mom and Dad came to the first few family sessions defensive, full of excuses, but our therapist, Dr. Stephen Hayes, didn't let them hide behind their guilt. Taking money without asking isn't help, he said in one session. It's theft. By the 3rd meeting, Mom actually admitted she was presumptuous, and Dad, who never admits anything, called the nursery promise an overreach. They weren't fixed, but they were listening. Meanwhile, I kept seeing Dr. Rachel Carter, the therapist who had helped me find the strength to begin all this. One day she said something that stuck with me. You've been the family's emotional fixer since you were a kid. That's not just about money. That's about identity. She was right. I realized I had spent years shrinking my own life so theirs could be bigger. 3 months later, I signed the papers on a small condo. Nothing fancy, but it was mine. A quiet home office, a tiny balcony for herbs, and, most importantly, a lock that only I had the key to. That same week, my parents made their first $150 0 cents repayment. It wasn't much, but it meant everything. They were keeping their word. Chloe had the baby, a 7-pound firecracker with my mom's nose and her dad's loud lungs. She named her Sarah, just like she'd planned. I held her in the hospital, and for the first time in a long while, I didn't feel bitter. I felt hopeful. Their nursery wasn't designer. It was painted by Chloe and Michael themselves, filled with homemade shelves and hand-me-down baby toys. Not a dollar of mine in sight. 6 months after the showdown, Mom called out of the blue. I've been reading about boundaries, she said. Your dad and I grew up thinking you shared everything, that if one person had money, everyone did. We didn't think of it as wrong. We thought it was family. That doesn't make taking mine okay, I told her. She didn't argue. She said, I know. Will you come for dinner Sunday? Just family. For real this time. I went. It was awkward, but it was real. There were moments, like when Dad casually mentioned my cousin Ethan's tech startup, or when Mom hinted at her vision for Christmas gifts, where I felt the old manipulation trying to creep in. But this time, I didn't cave. I repeated my boundaries, calm but firm, and to my surprise, they backed off. My relationship with money changed too. I stopped swinging from guilt-driven giving to anxious hoarding. I worked with a financial therapist who helped me set a budget for what I wanted to give, on my terms. I created a small fund for family help, but only if I chose to give it, not out of pressure. And something wild happened. My story started spreading. Some of my cousins started setting their own limits. One even told me she finally addressed the way her husband controlled their money. A year later, I met my parents for coffee. "We're thinking of downsizing," Dad said. "The house is too big for us now." "Smart," I said. "Can you help us look at options?" Mom asked. "Not with money, just your brain. You're so good with numbers." That ask, with no hidden agenda, felt bigger than any repayment. Later that night, sitting on my balcony, watching the breeze rustle my little potted basil, I realized something. That pain, that betrayal, it had been awful, but it forced something I never would have done on my own. It forced growth. I was no longer the ATM daughter, the emotional fixer, the walking checkbook. I was Sarah, a woman with boundaries, a woman who chooses who she gives to and why. The $12,800.00 is back in my savings account, but honestly, the real win wasn't the money, it was everything that changed because of it. Ever had to set hard boundaries with your family? Share your experience below. If this story hit home, watch the next video. It might help you find your own line in the sand. Real family doesn't drain you, they respect you. If this story made you feel something, if it reminded you of a time you had to draw a line or wished you had, drop a comment below. I'd love to hear your experience, and if you're still figuring it out, you're not alone. Real family doesn't come from shared blood or old expectations. It comes from respect, boundaries, and choice. So if you're ready to hear more stories like this, stories that don't shy away from the messy part, share that subscribe button and check out the next video. Someone out there needs to hear what you just did.